Okay, let's talk about your mind. Because one minute it's this place of just incredible focus. You're coming up with brilliant ideas. And then the next, it can feel like a total storm, just chaos. So, what is actually going on in there?
I mean, think about it. You've had this happen, right? You wake up from a dream that is so completely bizarre, you couldn't even begin to explain it to someone. But then later that same day, you're totally locked in, laser focused on some tough problem, and you just nail it. How can your mind be both of those things?
Well, it turns out that switch, the one between total chaos and perfect control, it's not random. Not at all. There's actually a powerful built-in director inside your brain, and it's orchestrating the whole show. Every single thought. All right, section 1. Mind. Chaos or control? So let's really dig into that. Is your mind just pure chaos, or is it all about control? The thing is, as you're about to see, the answer isn't either or. It's both.
Okay, section 2. Meet your brain's director. So to get how that's even possible, we gotta meet this director, right? It's time to pull back the curtain and see what's really sitting in the control room, calling all the shots in your head. And this director, it has a name. It's your prefrontal cortex, or what we'll call the PFC. It's that part of your brain right behind your forehead, and it's basically the control hub for everything. It doesn't just sit there and react to stuff. No, it's actively pulling in information, trying to predict what's going to happen, and steering your thoughts toward whatever you're trying to do.
And look, its job description is it's huge. The PFC is what takes your memories and your emotions and mashes them together to help you make a decision. It's the reason you can hold your focus or stop yourself from doing something impulsive. You know, it regulates your behavior. It's what lets you actually make a plan. It really is the CEO of your brain.
Section 3. The spectrum of thought. So, the big question is, how does this one director create all these different states of mind we feel? Well, here's the key. Its control isn't a simple on or off switch. Think of it more like a dimmer switch, you know? It can be turned way up, way down, or anywhere in between. And that creates this whole spectrum of thought we live in.
So on one end of that spectrum, when the PFC director's kind of taking a nap, you get what's called zigzag mentation. Your thoughts are all over the place, fragmented, emotional, jumping from one thing to the next. This is literally the stuff of dreams and daydreams. But crank that dimmer switch all the way up, and you get theme-driven mentation. Now your thoughts are coherent, they're logical, they're purposeful. This is you in get-it-done mode.
And you can see this relationship so clearly right here. When you're super focused, your PFC is going full throttle. That's strong, theme-driven logic. When you're just in a casual state, maybe chatting with a friend, its activity is more moderate. You're tracking the theme, but it's not intense. And then, when you're dreaming or just idling, letting your mind wander, the PFC is in low-power mode. And that's what opens the door for that creative, kind of weird zigzag thinking.
Okay, to really nail down just how powerful the PFC is in creating our reality, let's use a fascinating example. This really highlights the boundary between our different states of consciousness. So, what is the difference between a sleep erection and a wet dream?
The answer, it all comes down to the PFC. A sleep erection is purely physiological. It's an unconscious process. The director, our PFC, is completely off-duty. It's lights out, so there's no story, no narrative, nothing. But a wet dream, that's a subconscious event. And the key difference is that here the PFC is partially awake. It's just active enough to start weaving in little bits of memory and emotion. And suddenly, it can turn a purely physical thing into an actual story.
Section 4. The emotion versus logic trade-off. And that whole idea of weaving a story, that brings us to this constant battle that's happening inside your head. It's this non-stop push and pull between raw, powerful emotion and cool-headed logic, both fighting for control of your thoughts.
You can almost picture it like a little debate team in your skull. First, you've got your amygdala. That's your emotion center, and it just shouts out a really strong signal, maybe fear or excitement. Then, your hippocampus, the memory hub, jumps in and says, hey, remember last time this happened? It provides context. And then finally, our director, the PFC, steps in and tries to regulate the whole thing to keep you on track with your goals.
So who wins this internal debate? Well, it all depends on how active your PFC is in that moment. If your PFC is weak, maybe you're tired, you're stressed out, that emotional signal from the amygdala can basically hijack the whole system, and that leads to impulsive thoughts or actions. But when your PFC is strong and engaged, it's in charge. It can regulate that emotion, it can put it in its place, and maintain that logical, theme-driven thinking we talked about.
All right, section 5, redefining the mind. So if we put all of these pieces together, right, the director, this whole spectrum of thought, that constant battle between emotion and logic, we can come to a really profound new way of thinking about what the mind even is.
But to do that, we need one last piece of the puzzle. It's a concept called neural strain flow. Now, this sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. Thought isn't just some abstract, wispy thing. It's a real, physical, dynamic process. It's a literal flow of energy and information moving through your brain. And the PFC's main job? To organize and direct that flow.
And that leads us to this absolutely incredible conclusion. The mind isn't a place. It's not a thing you can point to. As the saying goes, the mind is not a location, but a phase-integrated control state predominantly governed by prefrontal dynamics. What that really means is, your mind is a state of being. It's a process. It's what happens when your internal director, or your PFC, takes all that chaotic energy, all the emotion, all the memory, and beautifully organizes it into one coherent stream of thought.
So, from now on, when you feel your thoughts scattering into a million pieces, or when you feel that incredible sharp focus, you'll know what's happening. You'll know that the director in your head is either taking a little break or stepping up to take center stage. So the real question, the one I want to leave you with, is this. Now that you know who's directing the show, how are you going to guide your focus?